السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. Welcome to this week's ICNA ILF Understanding the Quran series. Inshallah, tonight we'll be covering Surah Ibrahim from ayah 18 to 23. And tonight's speaker is Sheikh Rahman Khan.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله أما بعد. My dear brothers and sisters, viewers all, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And today, inshallah, we are going to continue with Surah Ibrahim, verses 18 to 23. And this is our third session of the surah. So verse 18, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, مثل الذين كفروا بربهم أعمالهم كرماد اشتدت به الريح في يوم عاصف لا يقدرون مما كسبوا على شيء ذلك هو الضلال البعيد. The example of the deeds of those who reject faith in their Lord are like ashes blown away by a wind on a stormy day. They will not derive any value from what they have done. That is because they strayed far away from the right path. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving us a similitude. مثل الذين كفروا بربهم أعمالهم كرماد اشتدت به الريح في يوم عاصف. So the example of the deeds of those who reject faith. So those who reject faith might do some good work, okay? They might do some good deed, charity and kind word, helping others and so forth. But they are like ashes. They have no weight on their own. These deeds have no weight. And they're blown away by the wind. So we know any wind can blow away ashes, because ashes doesn't have any weight or any value. So it blows it away. On a stormy day, that makes it even more that is going to be blown away, because when there is a storm, it blows houses away, let alone some ashes. So what is this similitude about? This signifies that their deeds hold no value or substance because they lack the foundation of the belief in Allah. And so, brothers and sisters, it's not just about how much we do, but how well we do, how firm we are with this action, how grounded we are with our faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just as ashes cannot be gathered once they disperse by the wind, and especially if there is a storm, they're blown away. You cannot gather them back. And so similarly, that's what happened to the deeds. As a result, what happens? لا يقدرون مما كسبوا على شيء. They will not derive any value from what they have done. So whatever, good they might have gotten from it, it is just, it is just one of those moments in this world where people will get to know, they will enjoy that moment of fame, or people come to know about it, but it really doesn't have any value after that. So on the day of judgment, those who reject their Lord will realize that their efforts were wasted, and they have no control or ability to reclaim their deeds, just like this is blown away. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in Surah Furqan, وَقَدِبْنَا إِلَى مَا عَمِلُوا مِنْ عَمَلٍ فَجَعَلْنَاهُ هَبَاءً مَنْثُورًا. So those who disbelieve, we shall turn to whatever deeds they did, and we shall make such deeds as scattered floating particles of dust. In other words, it does not hold any weight. Just like if you have some dust in your hand and you make, and it's gone. So their deeds will become like scattered dust. And at the end of the ayah, Allah says, ذَلِكَ هُوَ الضَّلَالُ الْبَعِيدُ. Okay, this is because they strayed far away from the right path, the straight path. That same straight path that we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in every rak'ah of our prayer, we ask Allah to guide us on that straight path. So that straight path, because they have strayed away, they were told about this straight path, and out of arrogance, they chose to stay away from that right path, from Islam. And so verses 19 and 20, Alam tara anna Allah khalaqa as-samawati wal arda bil haqq إن يشاء يذهبكم ويأتي بخلق جديد وما ذلك على الله بعزيز. So these two verses kind of go together. Have you not seen that Allah created the heavens and the earth with a purpose? If He wills, He can remove you and bring a new creation. This is not difficult for Allah to do. And so Allah affirms His ability to resurrect the bodies on the day of resurrection. He can bring these bodies back to life, and He can create, He has created the heavens and the earth, which are way stronger than the creation of man. Because if we look on this planet Earth, this is one in billions and billions and billions, of other heavenly body that is within this universe. Scientists have said it is 1 quadrillion, which is 1 times 20 to the 1 times 10 to the 21 power, some said to the 24th power, between British quadrillion and American quadrillion. There are some differences of how many zeros to add on, but whatever it is, it's a lot of zeros. And this earth is one of them. And man, as tiny as he is on earth. Okay? So these creations, this heaven, the sun is 1.2 million times bigger than the earth itself. So one of those heavenly bodies is 1.2 million times bigger than this earth. So then who are we as human beings to feel that we cannot be brought back to life? And the one who has created the heavens, high, wide, and strongly built, is He not able to bring them back to life? The one who has created all this creation, is He not able to bring them back again? The one who has created this earth and all that it contains of land, valleys, mountains, deserts, green fields, barren lands, seas, is He not able to bring back life all over again? Subhanallah. Certainly He can. وَمَا ذَلِكَ عَلَى اللَّهِ بِعَزِيزٍ. That is not difficult for Allah to do. Okay, as Allah tells us in Surah Al-Ahqaf, أَوَلَمْ يَرَوْا أَنَّ اللَّهَ الَّذِي خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَلَمْ يَعْيَ بِخَلْقِهِنَّ بِقَادِرٍ عَلَى أَنْ يُحْيِيَ الْمَوْتَى بَلَى إِنَّهُ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. Do they not see that Allah, who created the heavens and the earth, and He was not wearied or tired by their creation, is able to give life to the dead? Yes, He surely is able to do all things. Okay? And again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in Surah Yasin, أَوَلَمْ يَرَى الْإِنسَانُ أَنَّا خَلَقْنَاهُ مِن نُطْفَةٍ فَإِذَا هُوَ خَصِيمٌ مُبِينٌ وَضَرَبَ لَنَا مَثَلًا وَنَسِيَ خَلْقَهُ قَالَ مَنْ يُحْيِي الْعِظَامَ وَهِيَ رَمِيمٌ قُلْ يُحْيِيهَا الَّذِي أَنْشَأَهَا أَوَّلَ مَرَّةٍ وَهُوَ بِكُلِّ خَلْقٍ عَلِيمٌ. Doesn't man consider what we created him? That we created him from an insignificant drop of sperm, yet he challenges openly after he gets some knowledge. So what were we before we were born? What were we created from? Okay, and then when we get some knowledge, we begin to challenge Allah. And what is that challenge? He argues with us and forgets His own creation. He says, who will give life to these bones after they have crumbled to dust? So they are saying, what is it now? They have not looked at what they came from. Say, He, Allah, who created them in the first time, will give them life again. He is all knower of every creation. And so to make this statement of wondering how we are going to come back to this life and to deny returning back or resurrect back to stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, just look at the things that are around us and look at our own selves, and we will find the answer to that. And verse 21, وَبَرَزُوا لِلَّهِ جَمِيعًا فَقَالَ الضُّعَفَاءُ لِلَّذِينَ اسْتَكْبَرُوا إِنَّا كُنَّا لَكُمْ تَبَعًا فَهَلْ أَنْتُمْ مُغْنُونَ عَنَّا مِنْ عَذَابِ اللَّهِ مِنْ شَيْءٍ قَالُوا لَوْ هَدَانَا اللَّهُ لَهَدَيْنَاكُمْ سَوَاءٌ عَلَيْنَا أَجَزِعْنَا أَمْ صَبَرْنَا مَا لَنَا مِنْ مَحِيصٍ. Now, there are two things that are going to happen here, two conversations. And these are conversations for us to pay attention to. The first conversation is this one. And this conversation is about the human factor, the humans that lead other humans to do evil. So in this world, we have people who are leading us to do evil or wanting other people to do evil. And this is the conversation they will have. On the day of judgment, they will all appear before Allah. And the weak followers, that is those who were following the elites, will say to the arrogant elites, indeed, we were your followers. We were your followers on Instagram, on Facebook, on X, on all of these social media. We were your followers. Whatever you tell us to do, we did. Whatever you say was right, we follow you in that. So indeed, we were your followers. So can you be of any use to save us from Allah's punishment? I mean, we were the ones that were following you, and you were the ones who were shouting out and making all these videos and statement that you were on the right path. Is there any use to, can you be of any use to save us from this punishment? It's severe. The elites were replying, had Allah given us guidance, we would have surely guided you. It is all the same now. Whether you show rage or you suffer patiently, there is no escape for us. So now they're all trapped in this hellfire. May Allah save us from that. And this is that conversation. So وَبَرَزُوا لِلَّهِ جَمِيعًا فَقَالَ الضُّعَفَاءُ لِلَّذِينَ اسْتَكْبَرُوا إِنَّا كُنَّا لَكُمْ تَبَعًا فَهَلْ أَنْتُمْ مُغْنُونَ عَنَّا مِنْ عَذَابِ اللَّهِ مِنْ شَيْءٍ. So again, we come back to breaking up into pieces. They will all appear before Allah, and the weak followers will say to the arrogant elites, indeed, we were your followers. Okay? See what you can do for us. Can you be of any use to save us from Allah's punishment? In other words, we obeyed your orders and implemented them. We danced like you, we ate like you, we behaved like you. See what you can do to save us from what you used to promise us. That all will be well, you will be fine. Don't worry, we'll take care of you, we got your back. You used to say all of these things in this world. So what is the response? So two things, those who are the elite ones that misguided them, two things they said. The leaders will say in response, لَوْ هَدَانَ اللَّهُ لَهَدَيْنَاكُمْ. Had Allah guided us, we would have guided you. Now they remember Allah. Now when the punishment is there with them, now they are beginning to recognize and calling the name of Allah. Okay, that had Allah guided us, we would have guided you. And the second, it's that it's all the same, whether we show rage, whether you get angry or you suffer all of this patiently, there is no escape from us. So we are all trapped in this now. So don't waste your time. Don't waste your time basically arguing with us. There is nothing we can do. And You just have to deal with it now, we will have to deal with it. Okay, so these are very basically we are all doomed. We led you to doom, and so this is what it is. So all of these, misguided people who sometimes we take our cue and our life and our example from them and turn away from the example that Allah has sent from the prophets, from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to great human beings, to those who are upright and believe in Allah, and you turn away from them, then this is what your conversation will be with those who have misguided you. And in another verse, Allah tells us, وَإِذْ يَتَحَاجُّونَ فِي النَّارِ فَيَقُولُ الضُّعَفَاءُ لِلَّذِينَ اسْتَكْبَرُوا إِنَّا كُنَّا لَكُمْ تَبَعًا فَهَلْ أَنْتُمْ مُغْنُونَ عَنَّا نَصِيبًا مِنَ النَّارِ قَالَ الَّذِينَ اسْتَكْبَرُوا إِنَّا كُلٌّ فِيهَا إِنَّ اللَّهَ قَدْ حَكَمَ بَيْنَ الْعِبَادِ. When they will argue with one another, this is in another surah to give that same picture, because sometimes this picture repeats itself in different dimension. When they argue with one another in hell, the weak will say to the arrogant. Okay, so the weak people always are addressing, because arrogant doesn't have time until they are prompted. Like the weak people are the ones who are going to poke them in hellfire with what they have ended up with. Indeed, we were your followers. Will you relieve us from any portion of the fire? And the arrogant leaders will say, we are in this fire all together. Indeed, Allah has already judged between his servants. So we are in this now together. We were in the world together on the wrong path, and now we are in this world, in the akhirah, in the hellfire, together facing the consequences. So, my dear brothers and sisters, it is time for us to really stop and think. What is it we want to follow, and who is it we want to follow in this world? Yes, lights are dazzling and flashy with things that deviate from that right path. The flashy lights, the music, the songs, the singers, the way they dress, so forth and so on. Those are very flashy. They look very flashy. But in the end, this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that will happen. And so we have to at some point in time stop and think, is this what I want in my life? To be ruled and to be misguided by those who reject Allah and his messenger? We have to think about that, because this conversation will be one of that conversation that people in hellfire will be talking about. Now, this second verse in verse 22, as I said, there were two conversations. The first conversation is people with people. Now, this conversation is going to be with Iblis, the shaitan, and people. وَقَالَ الشَّيْطَانُ لَمَّا قُضِيَ الْأَمْرُ إِنَّ اللَّهَ وَعَدَكُمْ وَعْدَ الْحَقِّ وَوَعَدْتُكُمْ فَأَخْلَفْتُمْ وَمَا كَانَ لِي عَلَيْكُمْ مِنْ سُلْطَانٍ إِلَّا أَنْ دَعَوْتُكُمْ فَاسْتَجَبْتُمْ لِي فَلَا تَلُومُونِي وَلُومُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ مَا أَنَا بِمُصْرِخِكُمْ وَمَا أَنْتُمْ بِمُصْرِخِي إِنِّي كَفَرْتُ بِمَا أَشْرَكْتُمُونِ مِنْ قَبْلُ إِنَّ الظَّالِمِينَ لَهُمْ عَذَابٌ أَلِيمٌ. So this is a more intense conversation now, because remember, friends and so forth are visible things in this life that misguide you, and not everybody take that misguidance. There are people who turn away from their evil friends and choose the right path. But now this is the inner one, the shaitan that is whispering to us all the time, the Iblis factor that leads to evil, and this is the main one. This is the main one. And so this conversation is that when the matter is decided, Satan will say, indeed, Allah made a true promise to you. And I too promised you, but I betrayed you. Subhanallah. So he's acknowledging that Allah made a true promise to you. And that promise, if you follow him, you will get his pleasure, you will go to paradise. If you reject him, reject his messenger, his message, Al-Quran, this is where you will end up. So he made a true promise to you. I too promised you, but I betrayed you. I had no authority. Now look at this part. All this whispering and this do so, do so, do so. I have no authority over you. So Iblis is saying at the end of this journey, in fact, when they are all, the matter is decided, they're going to go hellfire, they're in hellfire. Now he is saying this to them, I had no authority over you. I only invited you and you responded to me. So don't blame me. Rather blame yourselves. I cannot help you, nor can you help me. SubhanAllah, very, very clear words he's going to say. This is what Allah is telling us that he will say, and he will say that. Because Allah's kalam is true. Satan is the one who has betrayed people. So he said, I cannot help you, nor can you help me. I reject the way you associated me with Allah in worship previously. So I am not, I keep far from you now. So after he being your close friend and a close whisperer in your soul that nobody knows what he's whispering to you, but you carry out those whisper, those feeling, he builds up those emotions within you, and you run after those emotions, you run after that ego, you run after this shoh and greediness for this dunya and forgetting about Allah, you run after that. And now he's saying, I reject you today, the way you associate me with Allah in worship. I have to deal with my own self. So a painful punishment await the wrongdoers. I mean, how clear can this be, or how clearer can this be when Iblis is going to say, I had no authority over you. In other words, you had your own mind, your hand, your feet, your body, your heart, your soul, your everything you had. I only invited you and you responded to me. So why do you blame me now? Right? Shaitan disowns his followers on the day of judgment. And Allah tells us that what Iblis will say to his followers after the judgment, the finishes with the judgment. Okay? قال الشيطان لما قدر أمر. Shaitan will address those in hellfire when the matter is decided. And Iblis will stand and address those destined for the fire in order to add more depression to their already depression of going to hellfire. He will add more sorrow to the sorrow and grief to their grief. All of it, he will add more and more and more. So you can imagine how painful this is. Think about it this way, dear brothers and sisters, dear viewers. Somebody is telling you, let's do so, we will make money. And it might be some shady stuff. It might be some wrong stuff that you know it's not the right way to do that. Now the judge is judging in a court of law. I'm talking about this dunya. And the judge is there in the court of law. And the judge says, both of you who are part of this, you get lifetime imprisonment. And now the judge asks you, what do you have to say? So the one who was in control is saying to the one who followed him, you are on your own. The matter is decided now. Okay. You are pretty much on your own. I didn't force you to do it. You did it. Yes, I told you, but you are the one who did it. So imagine how painful that is. You can't Go back and say, oh Allah, give me another time so I can reject shaitan. I can reject evil. I can reject the evil whispering. You can't go back that now. So you have to see what is that lifetime imprisonment that you have. And he's saying, Inna Allah wa'adakum wa'adal haqqi wa wa'adtukum fa'akhlaftukum. You know, indeed, Allah made a true promise to you. And I also make a promise to you, but I broke my promise. I mean, it's not that you can retract your paces. This is not the time for retracting your paces now. This is hellfire. This is punishment. And this is the time when people beg. And there are other ayat that tell you how people beg, لَوْ أَنَّ لَنَا كَرَّةً لَنَكُونَنَّ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Only if we have one chance more, one time more, then you, shaitan, you see what I'm going to do with you? I would not even listen to you. But they say that. And when they come back, if they were to be given a chance, Allah says that if they were to be given a chance, they're going to do exactly what they did before. This is the human nature. How many times haven't we fallen ill and perhaps near to death, and we said, oh God, if we had one more chance, I will do so, I will do so. Allah give you a chance and you do exactly what you did before. This is a human being. So the promise is that if you believe in Allah and follow the messengers, you will gain safety and deliverance. And truly Allah's promise was true, and that is the correct news and information promise you have. وَعَدْتُكُمْ فَأَخْلَفْتُكُمْ. I too promised you, but I betrayed you. So now you're going to hear, after you die, after you resurrect, and a judgment is passed, now he's going to tell you, I betrayed you. Oh my God. If a friend were to do that to you, forget about the devil for now. If a friend were to put you in trouble and tell you, I'm the one who betrayed you, how angry, how disappointed, let alone this was your bosom friend. This was your best friend. Because shaitan would try to cozy up with us and try to be an advisor when there is no need for an advice. And then when you didn't even ask him or call upon him, anyone for him, but he is whispering to you, do so, do so. So how did Iblis do it? Okay. And Allah tells us how Iblis comes into this human being and does that. يَعِدُكُمْ وَيُمَنِّيهِمْ يَعِدُهُمْ وَيُمَنِّيهِمْ وَمَا يَعِدُهُمُ الشَّيْطَانُ إِلَّا غُرُورًا. He, shaitan, makes promises to people, then arouses them in false desires. Oh man, if you put your money in the bank and you put it here, you can get so much riba, and you can buy this, you can do that. If you have this amount of loan, you can do so, you can do so. You end up paying riba and riba, left, right, and center. You live in riba, you eat in riba. He arouses these false desires, emotional desires, to encourage you to go ahead and look at this and see that. And there it is, you're in front of your screen, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., and you're on that screen watching all filthy stuff. And he arouses these false desires, and shaitan's promises is nothing but deception. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us. Shaitan's promises is nothing but deception. And so now Iblis is breaking it down piece by piece. If you didn't understand it then, better understand it now. And this is the last time I'm going to have a frank conversation with you. That's basically what Shaitan is saying to them. وَمَا كَانَ لِيَ عَلَيْكُم مِّن سُلْطَانٍ. I have no authority. I have no authority over you. Basically, you are totally responsible for your action. And this is one thing, my dear brothers and sisters. There's one thing that I find that when people do somebody wrong, you always say, "Oh, brother, it's not me. It's really not me." When you get caught, it's not me. It's shaitan. So you throw everything as if we have no responsibility with the guidance that Allah has given to us. It's always, "Oh, it's shaitan. Shaitan caused me to." Yeah, shaitan caused you to do that, but you have your because shaitan is not going to take your responsibility, period, not in this world nor in the hereafter. Okay, and here is what happened. Illa an da'awtukum fastajabtum li. He's breaking it down now. I only invited you, I whispered to you, and you responded to me. So you use your hand, you use your intellect, you use your mind, what Allah has given to you. You have rejected Allah's book, Allah's messenger, Allah's way, Allah's straight path. You have rejected that. And you responded to me. I didn't force you. I did invite you, but I only invited you. Ila an da'utukum. I did. I'm not going to deny that. I have invited you and you responded to me. So even though the messengers established the proof and undeniable evidences against you and affirmed the truth of what they were sent to you with, but you disobeyed the messengers and you ended up earning this fate in hellfire. فَلَا تَلُومُونِي وَلُومُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ. So don't blame me today. Blame yourself. Imagine he is telling you that in your face. Don't blame me. Blame yourself. Talking about disappointment and deception reveal, and even they blame Iblis. What difference would it make at this point in now if they were to blame Iblis? If they say, "No, no, you are the one. You are the one that," what difference would it make, my dear brothers and sisters? You're already doomed for hell. May Allah save us from that. What difference would it make? Ma ana bimusrikhikum wa ma antum bimusrikhi. I cannot help you, nor can you help me. We cannot help one another. We now will bear the consequences. I cannot benefit. I cannot save you. I cannot deliver you from what you're suffering, nor can you do any of that for me. Now Iblis is saying the truth, but too late for his followers. Can you imagine if Iblis were to say that in this world? Just think about it, dear brothers and sisters. Imagine if Iblis were to come and said, "Well, you know what? Don't I'm not gonna I'm gonna tell you, but don't follow me. Because if you follow me on the day of judgment, I will not be able to help you. And I may invite you, but it is you who are doing it." In fact, that's what he is saying. This is what he's not saying that. He's saying that at the hellfire. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us this is what Iblis is going to say. So don't follow him. لا تتبعوا خطوات الشيطان. Don't follow the footsteps of the devil. إنه لكم عدو مبين. He is an open enemy to you. So when Allah gives us all of that, and then you feel that the little knowledge that you have, that maybe you went to college or you finished high school, you did some years in college, you have a degree, you have a good job, you feel, well, you know, what is this life all about? All I'm seeing is suffering, all I'm hearing is punishment, all I'm hearing is this. Well, guess what? This is what it leads. This is the end of this journey back to Allah. Because you didn't bring yourself in this world. Allah placed you here, so this is the journey back. Inni kafartu bima ashraktumuni min qabl. I reject the way you associate me with Allah in your worship previously. So when you commit shirk with Allah, I reject that way. Can you imagine? He suddenly becomes self-righteous, but he knows he's doomed, but this is how he is now going to wash his hands off you once and for all. And that is the knockout punch that both of us are going down. Don't waste your time and waste your energy anymore. Iblis will deny that he was an associate deity with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Subhanallah, subhanallah. And so what is the end result? Inna Inna dhalimina lahum adhabun alim. So a painful punishment awaits the wrongdoers. And then verse 23, وأدخل الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها بإذن ربهم تحيتهم فيها سلام. As for those who believe and do righteous deeds, they will be admitted to gardens of paradise under which rivers flow. They will remain there forever by their Lord's permission. Their greeting therein will be peace, salam. And so the true believers will have eternal bliss and happiness. Da'wahum fiha subhanaka Allahumma wa tahiyyatuhum fiha salam wa akhiru da'wahum anil hamdulillahi rabbil alameen. So this is in another surah, which we maybe 3-4 months ago we did. Their way of request therein will be Subhanaka Allahumma, glory be to you, Allah, and salam, peace, will be their greetings therein, paradise. And the close of their request will be Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, and all praises due to Allah, the Lord of all that exists. So this is when Allah gives what happens to the people of hellfire. He also talks about what happens to the people of paradise. And what a beautiful ending. So, my dear brothers and sisters, let us beware. When those whisperings come to us, let us remember that conversation that Iblis is waiting to have. And let us not wait for that conversation. Let us take what Allah tells us to stay away from Him. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant wa nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilaik. And we will have a question or two because I have to run in a minute. So, Brother Musa, over to you.
Okay, Jazakallah khairan, Sheikh Abdur Rahman. So we'll start the Q&A now, just a couple of questions. So one of the verses we talked about, it covered the conversation between the followers and the leaders. And that ayah reminded me of the importance of choosing our leaders and our role models wisely, and not just blindly following like anyone we see. So could you talk a bit more about that? Like, how should we go about choosing our leaders and role models?
Yeah, so if a leader calls to Allah, calls to the worship of Allah, calls to the obedience of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that is a clear indication that that leader that you're choosing is calling towards Allah and His Messenger. If it is a lot of I and me, you know he's calling to himself, and you have to make that decision how much you want to follow that person. Yeah.
And Jazakallah khairan. Just a follow-up question to that. I just thought of something else about where we get our sources of knowledge. It's kind of similar, but a little bit different. So could you talk about the importance of getting our sources, getting knowledge from like a trusted source rather than kind of like you said, just random people who are on social media? So where should we get our sources of
Yeah.
knowledge from?
So a lot of you see this social media, people don't know who they're even listening to. Sometimes there is no face, there is no name, and this social media is now becoming clear that things that are happening on social media are happening a lot by people who study Islam. They're not Muslims, but they study Islam, they know Arabic, they know the Quran, they know the Hadith, and they say some strange things. And sometimes, as youth, you think that Islam is something else than what you're hearing from your old folks, from the folks that you have known for 30, 40 years, that they talk about Salah, they talk about Zakat. You think Islam is way bigger than that. In fact, if you go to the beginning of Surah Baqarah, which we did, how simple are our lives, that we have to believe in Allah, believe in the ghaib, and act upon that. Just act upon it. Islam is not stage. Islam is not on the stage. Islam is between you and Allah, what He asks you to do. That's all I can say.
Hey, Jazakallah khairan. And the last question, I really liked how you described the conversation between Shaitan and the people on the Day of Judgment. But for us, what practical strategies do you have for those who are listening for how we can avoid the tricks and the deceptions of Shaitan so we don't end up in that state?
Yeah, so I would say that um, whenever you are, by and large, Brother Musa, by and large, we know what is wrong in life, by and large. And so what happens when your emotions start to play up with you, when your ego start to play up, each one of us knows what is going on inside of us in terms of envy, jealousy, malice, hatred, ego. We all know that. But what happens at that moment, we start to follow these egos, follow those desires, follow that envy, hate that person because of what he has. Instead of going back and make your 2 rakat to Allah and beg Allah that bless me with so, bless me with knowledge, bless me with wealth, bless me with health, bless me with my career. So I think if we stop following those desires, knowing that those desires are going to take us down the wrong path, the path that we will hear this conversation, which we really don't want to hear. I hope and pray we don't have to hear this conversation that Iblis is going to have. And so I think if we can just live a simple life, help people, do our ibadat to Allah, our 5 daily prayers, our zakat, and so forth and so on, and help humanity as much as we can, I think we are good to go by the grace of Allah. This deen is simple, not complex. Yes.
Hey, Jazakallah khairan, Sheikh Abdur Rahman. May Allah reward you and may Allah allow us to act upon what we have been taught. Ameen. So inshallah, we'll stop here and we'll continue Surah Ibrahim next week. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
الله أكبر.